Oliver here with Ed Southwest Podcast. So recently I've been thinking a lot about education, and specifically alternative forms of education, and how schools and microschools can do a lot to promote character development in a natural way. It sort of occurred to me that schools already kind of do this in a way, but not normally in the classroom or recess like you'd expect. I think this happens a lot after school and outside of school, in the form of clubs and sports. These are sort of forms of alternative education in and of themselves. I was always aware of these, but I never really thought about them in the academic sense until recently. In Carl Armour's book, Positive Youth Development, he discusses really in depth how sports can do a lot to enhance academic achievement. I'll read a quick excerpt where he says, data shows that high school students who play sports are a lot less likely to drop out. Participation in sports also has been associated with completing more years of education and consistently higher grades in school. This makes a lot of sense to me. Of course, being a part of some kind of team does make you feel like you're part of a larger community than yourself. It builds this sense of community belonging and generally promotes a healthy lifestyle that'll translate into academics and a lot of other areas of life. Just speaking from the health and wellness standpoint, strenuous physical activity has a number of effects on the brain's physiology. True Sports Journal in 2014 found that it serves to increase blood flow, neurotropin production, hippocampus nerve cell production, neural network density, and the overall volume of brain tissue. Their studies also show how increasing time outdoors and energy levels outside can do a lot to relieve boredom and increase attention in students, which is really essential for districts have been, kind of dooming them to be drugged up with amphetamines all day and things like that to help with their attention. I mean, it seems like common sense, but a lot of people aren't thinking about this, like they should from this academic standpoint. This obviously comes from a healthier brain, burning your energy outdoors in the classroom. And according to the research, it's led to improved concentration, memory, mood, and problem solving. Of course, it's not the end-all remedy to inattentiveness, but the data shows that it helps. I don't think there's any question that being involved in a sport or club has tremendous benefits on students, especially those who suffer from inattentiveness in class. So clubs, though they're not as physically strenuous as competitive sports, they also have a lot of perks to their academic benefits. Myself, I've been a chess coach for about 4 years, which was kind of a dream job after being on school chess teams from 3rd grade until the end of high school. On these chess teams through my years, I've seen this culture of success flourish, where academics and knowledge are so highly valued. It's a social environment where students strive to succeed in chess and schoolwork both by studying and pushing themselves hard to think of new solutions to solve problems. And yeah, I did that in high school. I would study chess, I would read books about it, and I encourage my students to do it. And I've actually seen a lot of them come to school with chess books and, kind of try out new strategies. It's a lot of thinking that people don't really think about too much. Other than that, of course, there's engineering clubs, a lot of stuff that's not offered in school with robotics and things of that nature. So it absolutely has a direct connection to academics, and I wish more people would be involved in things like this. So yeah, I've also been reading a little bit about book clubs. I've never been part of one, but Dr. Kathy Kamasi wrote a lot about them and how to connect literacy with social experiences. Basically, it's an environment of self-ownership that students can cultivate themselves. She witnessed a great deal of real intrinsic motivation by disconnecting her book club from these academic standards. And the kids showed this high-level thinking with fluency in reading and a really good appreciation for English in general. A problem with this, with the lit clubs, was the language and reading fluency problems. A struggle they have in situations like this is really measuring success in a program. In traditional schools, we have these tests, and we can very easily gauge mastery of the skill being taught, while clubs like this kind of aim for something more broad. They can be described as the overall interest and the desire for mastery itself. The standard of clubs can be to connect strategies and skills they learn to their academic success, personal interest, and even their peer culture. So yeah, reading about Kamasi's literature club, for instance, I reflected on chess clubs and saw how members of the club built this culture linked to their academics and social norms. I think the goal is similar with any club overall. However, its definition of success can only really be measured in a more nuanced and subtle way, where simple tests can't quite grasp the effectiveness. It's similar to a lot of outside of school learning, where learning takes place on a more intrinsic, student guided level. So another one, sort of disconnected from the other two, um, a form of alternative education that I think we can take advantage of is video games, which a lot of adaptive learning programs already kind of utilize a lot. I'm a little dubious about it, but James Paul Gee wrote this awesome article titled "What Video Games Have to Teach Us About Learning and Literacy," where he really tries to tackle this interactive digital gaming world. Like many aspects of playing video games is its own intrinsic thing that students are going to do whether you're told to or not. An interesting idea he had was that students playing video games rarely actually read a manual. They play and then they'll read later. And I think education can kind of work in much the same way, where you apply this concept to a textbook where students are free to explore an idea, and then they see the textbook rather than a guide. It would be kind of be like a manual that you would read after if you encounter a roadblock of some kind. So in G's words, if students in formal educational environments had the ability to build their own knowledge as players in a game do when they beat a level, more progressive learning would follow, rather than the frustration that is often felt by students in academic settings. Now, personally, my opinion is that it pulls a lot of responsibility from educating itself. While growing up in the academic setting, students aren't only learning about the academic stuff, they're gaining valuable skills in this time management, responsibility, and delaying gratification for the sake of success, which I think video games do a lot to kind of harm. If the goal of learning is just kind of pure dopamine gratification from winning a game, then you're kind of losing a lot, in my opinion. Viewing video games like a game in this way, there might be a balance you can hit between making academics intrinsically desirable and sort of retaining this purpose as kind of a chore that prepares students for life and doing stuff that you don't want to do. So I think teachers can kind of use this in, beneficial ways. So yeah, these are just some forms of alternative education, and maybe, schools and even homeschoolers can take advantage of. The classroom isn't the only place where learning happens, so, get out there, keep students active and engaged, and learning is going to happen on its own. All right, thanks a ton, everyone, and I can't wait to talk again soon.